Hey, welcome to the video instructions for your DIY film processing kit. Here's what we're going to do today. First, I'm going to give you a general overview of what is in the kit so that you know what it is and what it's called, which I think is a pretty good place to start. Second, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on how to use the tank and reels, which are probably the most challenging part of this whole process. And finally, we're going to do a dry run of the developing process from beginning to end so you can see what it looks like before you try it. If you're ready to go, let's go. If you're not ready to go, I'm sorry, we don't have to do this right now. You can pause or rewind or watch something else. Really, this is all just for fun, so follow your heart. If you're still with me, let's get going. This is the changing bag. A changing bag is a light type bag that we use to transfer film from its cassette to the developing tank. The developing tank is a tank that we use to mix the chemistry and the film together during the actual developing process. And speaking of chemistry, this is what we're using today, Cinestill DF96, a simple one-step solution. Also in your kit are a roll of film, which you may or may not have shot by now, but it's probably a good idea to shoot it before you actually try to develop it, as you might imagine, and a short length of practice film, which we're going to use to figure out how to use the reels in here. That's the contents of your kit. And if you're all set, let's move along to the tank. Okay, so this is a developing tank. When you take it out of its package, you'll find that it has a couple of different components. I'll show you what they are right now. The first one that you're probably going to see is this flexible plastic cap. This is used for something called inversion development, which we're not going to do right now. So you can safely put it off to the side and take a look at the rest of it. This is an agitation rod. It's a little stir rod that we're going to use. This is the actual cap for the tank, which clicks on and off, like so. You can try that a few times. Looks like a funnel. That's going to come in handy pretty soon. And then on the inside of the tank, we have got this spindle with a couple of reels on it. That's the contents of the tank. The part we're going to focus on most right now is the reel, because this is the part that will actually hold your film. And getting the film onto here is the trickiest part of this whole process. So stick around. Okay, let's talk about these reels. First I'm going to show you how to adjust them for your film size, and then I'm going to show you how to wind film onto them. When you got this kit, you could have gotten a 35mm kit or a 120 kit. These reels can do both, and here's how to set them to do that. So when you pick these up and play with them, you'll notice that they're actually made up of two parts that slide like this back and forth. That's for winding the film on. We'll do that in a minute. But if you grab both sides firmly and actually twist them a little bit more, those two parts will come apart. And so if you look closely right here, you'll notice that on the center, there's a long slot for alignment, but there's also three smaller slots. That's the adjustment for film size. So if I go to put these back together at the narrowest setting, well, that's what you do for 35mm film. And if you bring them out to the widest setting, that's what you do for 120. The middle setting's for 127, which is a much less common type of smaller roll film, but if you ever come across a camera that uses it, this roll can take care of it for you. We're going to be using 35mm film for this demo, so I've closed it back up to the narrow setting right here, but if you are doing 120 film, do make sure that you're using it in this configuration. Okay, let's wind film onto this reel. So take another look at the reel itself. You'll notice, of course, that it's got the two sections that swivel, but it's also got these little slanty sections right here and these little captive steel balls under these little trays. That's part of the mechanism that will actually wind the film into the reel. So if you get your practice strip right here from your kit, we can try to load this into the reel. So here's the first step. Line up the slanty bits so they're parallel like this. Take your practice strip and push it through like that, and then grab it with your fingers and pull it past those steel balls. So here we go. Thumbs on the very end of those little slanty bits, and then start twisting back and forth. And as you can see, the film's actually being drawn in. like that. With a full roll of film, you just keep doing that until you get to the very end. When you're doing a practice strip like this, do it a number of times. Get a feel for it. Like that, until you feel comfortable with it. It's important that you feel comfortable with it, because the next time you do this with real film, it's going to be in the dark, and you're not going to be able to see it. Okay, let's talk about the changing bag for a minute. A changing bag is a light, tight bag that we use to move the film from its cassette into the developing tank. Film, of course, is sensitive to light, so we got to make sure it doesn't get accidentally exposed to light during that transfer. That's why we use a changing bag. And a changing bag is a double layer bag that's designed so that you can put your arms inside, like this, with light sensitive stuff, and not let light in. At the very bottom of the bag here, there's a double zipper, again designed so that light doesn't sneak in. When you're doing your actual developing process, the tank and film and scissors go inside of here. You zip it back up, and then you put your arms through here and load the film onto the reel into the tank. It sounds daunting. It's a little bit tricky, but it's not impossible to do. It's a lot easier than you might think it is, but it will take a little bit of practice. Don't get frustrated. We'll see this again in the dry run. Okay, let's try to put some of this information together. I'm going to show you how to get film out of the film cassette into the developing tank. You'll need film, you'll need the tank with its reels, and you'll need some scissors. Now, normally this is going to be done inside of a changing bag, but I'm going to show you outside of a changing bag now so you see what the process actually looks like. 35mm film first. This is a film cassette as it would come out of your camera when it's been rewound. There's a couple of ways that you can open this. Some people will use a bottle opener. I don't find it super effective. Often, the easiest way to get this open is to find this little felted slot right here, stick a finger through it, like this, and just peel it apart, just like that. And you can extract the center. Now, you'll notice that the end of the film has this shape to it. We need that end to be flat. And so you'll need to take your scissors and cut it straight like that. Now, I'm going to get a reel out of here. Line up the little slanty bits. Take this and slide it through, just like the practice film, right over those little steel balls. And now, watch this. Thumbs right here. Just keep winding, and the whole roll of film will wind all the way down into the reel. When you reach the end, you'll need to remove this, the end spool. So you take your scissors again, and you snip, and you give that another little kick, up, up, up. You're pretty much done. This goes back on the reel. I'll put it down at the bottom. The reel goes back in the tank, and the lid goes on. And once this is like this, you can take this out of the changing bag. The rest of the developing process happens in daylight. Okay, let me show you how to do this for 120 film. First, if you haven't already done so, you're going to want to adjust the reel to the correct size for 120 film, like so. You take your 120 roll, break that paper seal right there, and start pulling it apart. And you'll notice here that this backing is actually, this is paper. This is the light type backing. And then eventually you'll get to the film. That's that stuff. You're going to want to separate these like this. This one's a little extra curly. And here you go. So we're going to do the same thing as 35 millimeter. It's a little bit trickier to handle, but find the two edges of the little slanty bits, make sure they're lined up. Push the film through, pull it past the little steel balls, like this. And then with your thumbs over the slanty bits, start winding. Just like this. Eventually you'll get to the end, you're done. That goes on the spool, goes in there, goes in there. That's done. And that can go out into daylight again. That's how you do it for 120 film. Okay, let's try to do a dry run from beginning to end so you can see how it works. We've got our film that we've shot and rewound. There it is. We've got our tank. Now, to keep things simple, because we're only doing one film, you can actually remove one of these and set it aside. We're only going to use this one. We've got our scissors to cut the end of the film, and we've got a changing bag. So, I'm going to go ahead and put everything in the changing bag. There we go. In goes the tank, in goes the film, in goes the scissors, and we zip this all back up. There we go. And now, I'm going to stick my arms in and start loading some reels. Okay, so here's what's going on inside the bag. I'm going to remove the top, pull out the reel, and take it off of the cord. We're going to take our film, tear it open, just like this, and pull it out. And I'll set these pieces aside. Now, with our scissors, I'll try to feel for where the edge is, and give it a trim. Don't worry if you trim off a little bit too much, there's plenty of leader to go around. I'm going to feel around till I find this. Slide the ends right under there and feel these with my thumbs, you see? At the end of the film right there, pull it through, and now it starts twisting. And again, I can feel this moving under my fingers, so I can definitely tell that it's working. Just like this until you get to the end of the roll. And now I can feel that there's a spool at the very end there. So I'm going to feel where the end of that is. Grab my scissors again and give that a little trim. Just like that. And now finish this off like this. Okay, that feels good. Feel around for that. Put that back together like so. And I'm going to put this back in here. And I'm going to put the cap back on like this. Give it a twist until I can feel it click. And that's it. Okay, so I'm going to take my hands out of the changing bag. Unzip it, just like this. First zipper, second zipper. And I'm going to pull out the tank. Now, everything else we do from now on can be done in daylight. So, if you didn't like this changing bag thing, good riddance. So now that we've got the film in the tank, we can actually develop it. This is where the monobath comes in. So, grab your monobath, open it up, and simply pour it into the tank gently. There we go. Until the liquid level is just about at the top of the center hole, the little hole where this goes. Then you take your stirring rod, put it in, and give this a couple of twists. So at normal room temperature, Cinestill recommends about 6 minutes with minimal agitation, which means that every 30 seconds or so, give it a couple of twists like this, and then let it sit for another 30 seconds. When those 6 minutes are up, here's what you do. Open up your DF96 bottle again, take out your stir rod, open up your film tank, and use the top as a funnel right here to pour all the chemical in here back into the DF96, just like this. There we are. Recap your chemistry and set that aside. All you need to do with this now is give it a rinse and hang it up to dry. So you can remove the top and just put it under running water for a little while, just in the tank like this. Fill it up, dump it out, fill it up, dump it out into the sink, and when you're done that, your film will still be wet, but hold both pieces like this, give it a twist to unlatch the two sides, and pull them apart, just like that. Take out your film, and you'll be able to hang this up to dry.